Thank you so much for joining in again today. For those who are already, for those who are already in the Zoom page, for those who are already in the YouTube live and following, viewing live from there, thank you so much. We were here last week and then we assured that God
Thank you so much for joining in again today.
Oh, okay, we welcome Mr. Stephen Bukola of Agro Optimizer and the organizers of the Farmers Hangout. Thank you for coming right within the context of time. And we're expected to be here. While we look forward to letting our students, the younger pricing farmers in training, who also are to be here and who we are going to be interacting with. Today, our emphasis is on understanding the attitude of farmers. I mean, the drivers of the smallholder farming farms that we have around, which is said they are 80% is owned by the identified in our last discussion that there are attitudes, late adoption of invention and the related issues. We check around what could have been the issue. We appreciate Mr. Wale Okewole, Oyewole Okewole, who we appreciate Mr. Wale Okewole, who was here with us last time, alongside with Mr. Stephen Kupola, and we're able to arrive at the point that financing agribusiness, especially dealing with small older farmers, that it's a little bit tedious issue. We saw how that is a little bit challenging, most especially because of the attitude of the farmers. Before we arrive at that conclusion, I remember that we were talking about the fact that when the funding is right, especially when the fund is a development fund, that is not just about cash, requisite knowledge and skill that is packaged together in the capital in terms of cash and kind, like seed and what have you, that once there is this requisite package, what will happen is that the farmers will not just receive the funding, they will adopt best agricultural practices, BAP, and outlay. They will now be players in the market, that is known as a controlled market, where they, to an extent, dictate to the tone of price, especially. It's not something that they just take any price that is given to them. We discuss all that within the context of almost 2 hours, and we appreciate these individuals for their time and then for their contribution. Remember, we are having, this event we're having is a Farmers Hangout Prevent Series. We've had 01, today is 05th, God willing. All right, today we are going into understanding the attitude, this very attitude that we said farmers have, which affects them getting the funding they need. That we want to look into these very drivers that are controlling this attitude, so that we'll be able to attack it from that very root. So here we are today to discuss this attitude. To understand this attitude. What exactly is informing this attitude? Why do we have this kind of situation with our farmers, whereby farmers are crying that there's no money, but the funders are saying that there is money? In fact, organizations are established there's Afri-Agric, there's Credit Assist, and they are into fund agricultural practices, especially the smallholder farmers. But the smallholder farmers are saying that they cannot cultivate to their capacity because there's no capital. Best agronomic practices, because there's no funding, no money to fund it. But the Credit Assist is there, Afri-Agric is there. There are other development funders, like a Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture itself, who are all saying there's money on ground, people are not coming to get it. Small farm owners are saying that there's I'm sorry, I muted myself. So can you hear me now, please? Yeah, Victoria, thank you. Acknowledged. I muted myself, but now it's unmuted. I'm on mute, and I think you can hear me now. Can you? Thank you. Thank you for that. So sorry. So I said you could not hear me the last time because, I mean, earlier before now, because the network gave me a break and I'm back. So I was trying to link up what we had last week and then bringing it to pace with what we're going to be discussing this week. Last week, we literally started the whole pre-event, and then we look at the theme of Farmers Hangout, which is transforming agriculture. We look at financing. We look at better agronomic practices, and then market access for the farmers. And then we, first of all, acknowledge the fact that the fact on ground, which is that farmers in Nigeria, the population of farmers in Nigeria, 80% of it is populated by smallholder farms. Smallholder farms are those farms that are, by land size, they are no more than 1 hectare. Relatively, I mean, averagely, that is farmed on throughout the season, throughout the year. Some people might open as much as 50 acres, but then is it throughout the year? So when it's spread over, averagely, it will be 1 hectare. That's 2.5 acres. People that fall in this category, they are about 80% of the entire farming population. So we said, since that they are in the majority, when we say farmers, then we are talking about them. We should talk about them. And this Farmers Hangout is expecting, based on statistics, that 8 out of every 10 farmers that will show up there at the venue or that might join category, because that's what the statistics tell us that we have in Nigeria. So therefore, we are on this note saying, how do these farmers, smallholder farms, how do they respond to financing? Or how appropriately should we finance them? Because so far now, productivity is still low. The food security is still not there. And that's the pursuit. We want to ensure that we have food security. And if we have at all, we acknowledge that it has to be the contribution of this 80% of the farming population. So therefore, how well have they been doing? There needs to be expansion. There needs to be increase from, with this, the productivity of these very smallholder farms. How do we ensure that we increase that? That's what we are saying, transforming agriculture. To achieve food security, we have to transform agriculture. And what do we want to transform? Especially the smallholder farms who are in the majority. And then we'll have to look at it from 3 different perspectives. 3 different perspectives, which must be done concurrently. Financing, how financing should be done. Then adoption of better agronomic practices must be looked into. And as well as market access for this 80%. That was what we discussed last week. And before we could conclude that discussion, we realized that there are funds in my conversation with a manager, then Oyo State manager of Bank of Industry. Bank of Industry. He said, and I quote, that there is there's a lot of millions at their disposal at Bank of Industry, but farmers are not coming to take it up. Whereas farmers are saying there's a lot of cultivatable land, and we have the wherewithal, we have the willingness to do it, but banks are not giving us loan. Funding is not commensurable, and there's little we can do with our family labor size. You know, all this back and forth, food security is not in any way listening to this. What food security listens to is productivity. So what can we do? So in line with this, agro optimizers, in partnership with many organizations, of which One Foundation is one, came up with this issue of a farmers hangout. Let's meet, let's interact, let's connect and see where we can connect these dots and find solution way forward so that we can march forward and then ensure food security. So in our discussion last week, we arrived at the fact that if at all we'll be transforming agriculture, then we must fix the attitude of the small, older farmers, that their attitude is everything. There's a belief system which is limiting belief system farm drivers, I mean the farmers. There's a way in which they see things. There's a way in which they think. There's a way in which they undo things that is making financing difficult. That's making them, difficult to adopt better agronomic practices, which would have increased their productivity. Even if it's offered for free, there's a kind of attitude that smallholder farmers are having. So also, there seems to be as if there's an establishing rule, established rule rather, somewhere that makes them to have a fixed mindset that they must sell to the open market as against controlled market where they'll be able to command better price for their products or produce rather. So all this we would have to look into today. We would have to understand what exactly is the root of this attitude. And we'll be able to speak to it from here. So ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to today's discussion. We have already used 23 minutes of our time, and we have 45 minutes here maximum. We might negotiate for extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes to round up so that by 1 p.m. we all have to be back to our various work to continue the day. So I want to welcome you here. And if you understand what I've raised so far, the focus of Farmers Hangout, what we have discussed in the series, Prevent Series 01, and then what we are going to be discussing today in the Prevent Series 02. Please send your favorite emoji. If you understand why we're in the room, kindly send your favorite emoji. Before now, while I wait for you to respond, before now, I welcome Mr. Stephen Kukuola of Agro Optimizer and the chief host for Farmers Hangout. I welcome Adetong from Oak Nation Entrepreneur Foundation, who is representing the family here. I also welcome Victoria. I guess this is Orolua. Kindly use your business name. Rename your name here with your business name. I welcome Eniola Anima Shaun. That's a Blissful Taste by Salma. When others are in, we'll be welcoming them accordingly. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you all. Okay. I hope each of us Victoria, I don't know which of the Victorias. I don't know. I know that there's Oreoluwa. But then if you use your business name, that would help a lot. All right. Eniola Animal Sound, try to use your business name. Rename the name you use here to your business name. That will give you better visibility and projection. Is about our businesses here. You will realize that, Mr. Stephen, if you can, please change to Agro Optimizer in renaming your business. So let's start the discussion. I would, why I saw few emojis, I didn't see everything. I saw just few responses. Last week, we had one of the partnering organization, apart from one foundation, present in our discussion. That was Bova Ventura. This week, we've not had them. All right. Sorry about that. Perhaps they will be able to join with time. Okay. Mr. Stephen, please. Mr. Stephen said no response. Okay, now. Oh, thank you so much. Agro Optimizer. Fine. Mr. Stephen has changed the name to Agro Optimizer. Eniola Animal Sound. Can you try to do something? Victoria or Olua, change to your business name. All this is to ensure that your business is given that needed visibility. Yeah. Okay. So while we're at that, I want us to start. Mr. Stephen, don't worry. Eniola, don't worry. Next time you'll be learning that. Okay. Victoria has changed it. Press farm. Okay. No wahala. Oh. All right. I'm trying to look for those biases that inform the attitude. We are here to understand why smallholder farms behave the way they behave. But can I hear from Mr. Stephen, especially your experience on the field?
Hello. Can I come in now? Okay. Yeah, I think we lost Mr. David to network each, but I can see he's already trying to call my attention in. So let me just fill in the silence now. We discussed last week. Can you hear me, audience? Please, if you can hear me, show an emoji or you drop a message in the chat so I know if you can hear me. All right, thank you. So I can proceed. Okay, so based on last week, just as he has mentioned, we looked into various aids that are actually available for farmers, and the situation has been that the producer of these aids, that is funds, support, and in whichever form it's needed. I've always been saying the farmers, that is the producers who actually need this fund the more, are not coming for them. And then on the other hand, the farmers have always been complaining of non-availability of this fund, or non accessibility, like there has not been a proper access channel to this aid, to these funds, to this support. Then we also, while discussing that, we also conclude with one of the problem that has actually been making farmers, that is the producer, the actual producer. Now, when I mean the actual producer now, in this context, I'm talking about smallholder farmers that constitute about 80% of, in Nigerian case, 80% of the food production in Nigeria. And then by land mass, by land size cultivated, according to the Federation, that is Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, they say, or they classify farmers that cultivate less than 4 hectares, 4 hectares below, to be a smallhold farmers. And when you go 4 hectares below, that's farmers that cultivate less than 10 acres are small holder farmers, which are the majority, like the majority of the food producer in Nigeria. And in most African countries, they constitute about 70 to 80. But in the case of Nigeria, we have a larger percentage of them. So everywhere in Africa, they still constitute the majority. That is, they are the major food producer. Now, we've been looking at what is the cause, the cause why this aid has not been accessible to this set of farmers, that is the major food producer. Then we were able to note in the previous section last week Wednesday that the attitude of these producers is key, is a key cause why they have not been able to actually assess where the aids available on ground for them. And we are now trying to look into the matter today to see what has been the cause. For every cause, there is also a cause. That what has been the reason behind this attitude of farmers not coming for the help that is actually available for them. Then I think how we come up with this. There is this fear of unknown. It is like I am not a psychologist now, but we can actually borrow from that field of knowledge to explain some things we experience. Now, working with farmers on the field, from my experience, the fear of the unknown also grabs farmers, because for them to actually go for this, there are certain sacrifices we make. There are certain things that we have to give off. There are certain things that we have to trade off. So the fear of the unknown, that if I actually give this off, will I be able to get this I am going for? They are kind of moving from the state of the known to the state of the unknown. So the fear, it's number one thing. And there is a book that says that explains that more. If you can actually lay your hands on that book, it says that's the enmity, that is enemy of innovation. Enemy of innovation. Why is it that innovation don't get adopted on time? new ways don't get adopted on time. So it has been a problem with this food producer, their attitude to actually come out, to accept the unknown, to actually adopt the unknown. Then I will want to say it's a psychological problem. It is a psychological problem that requires a psychological approach. And that is where I will say, on the part, I wish Mr. David would be back and to get to join us in this aspect. However, I'll continue. The the approach, sorry, the approach to which we present these opportunities, this help, these new ways, this better agronomic practice to them, also have an effect on their adoption rate, on how well they will adopt it or how well they will get it. Studying the ways which we have always passed knowledge across to farmers, right from the let's say from the even from the 60s, that is talking about the 1960s or days before the 1960s. Our extensional approach has been should I say wrong, or let me just say has been improper to actually tackle the problem at hand. The approach we have been using to actually get this message across to farmer has not been right. It has been like pushing down information to them. It has been like pushing down knowledge to them. And then psychological, because I don't really want to waste our time, I would have been going into some theories and trying to explain some theories behind this. But all I just want you to know is that we humans, we don't like, or we don't like to be commanded. Let me use that word. We don't like to be commanded. We like when things come out of our own idea. We tend to give in to what comes from us, from our reasoning ourselves. We tend to give into it than what somebody else brings in. And that is why it is always very hard for people at times to, what is it called? To take advice. So our agricultural advisory approach has been poor. Let me just say that. Has been poor and has been wrong. There are better ways to actually do this, of which we are not. And I must tell you, those that have actually been with agro optimizers, the youngsters and various agri businesses that have actually been with agro optimizer must have actually been hearing me, because I don't know, I've not been saying it once, and it has become like an anthem to me anytime I want to speak, that Nigeria in particular, excuse me,
Sorry, sir. We cannot hear you, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry for that break. Okay. So I was trying
We
to
can hear you,
talk.
sir.
All right, thank you so much. I was trying to talk on our agricultural advisory approach system. Just as I've always told people, in Nigeria, as we are more concerned today, we have practically not been participating in every agricultural revolution that has been coming in on board in the global space. Now, right now, we just welcomed in the fifth revolution, that is agriculture 5.0. A whole lot of you may not know about it because we have not actually bring it into the public space. But agricultural experts, most of us that still claim agriculture 4.0 are not even on the 4.0. We are in the 5.0. But because the 5.0 phase has not been unveiled, so that is why we still stick to 4.0. Someone like me that is an expert in geospatial and satellite tech in agriculture, we still want to refer to myself or relate myself as Agri 4.0, while Agri 4.0 are just what is it called? Precision farming, precision agriculture. We have even gone a bit ahead in precision. Talking about high tech in precision. But it might interest you to know that we are talking about the 4.0, the 5.0. If I tell you that Nigeria only participated in the agriculture 2.0, and that is why it is very hard for us to actually adopt the techniques, the mechanics, the practices, and even understand the foundation of 3.0 and 4.0. Now, 2.0 is the green revolution. That was the one they did during the days of Operation Feed the Nation. And even the 2.0 that we participated in then, we didn't actually participated well. We were only on the campaigning stuff. Just, when we talk about mouth, just the noise. And every facilities, every platform that were actually raised then were not managed. They were not well managed. Most of them are not available again. While 2.0 should be like it's like a staircase, should be a stepping stone to 3.0. So it will be easy for us to move into 3.0. And while 3.0 should be a stepping stone for 4.0, which we have currently. Let's still drop the case of 5.0, 4.0. But because the stepping stone for 3.0 is not there or has not been there, then how are we going to even have the 3.0? So we don't even have 3.0. Then how do we step into 4.0 properly? It reminds me of a photo or an image I once saw on the internet. Someone trying to actually get to the top of a staircase from the bottom, now trying to stretch. It's not going to be so easy. And if care is not taken, you will just break yourself. You will destroy yourself. And that is exactly what is happening in the agricultural phase, in the agricultural sector. We're trying to jump from 2.0, which we didn't master well, into 4.0. It's not, in fact, you cannot understand it. Like, it's not going to be it's not going to be so easy. And that is what we have been facing. That is why it has not been easy for we to get farmers to adopt the better practices of today. Okay, let me just dive a bit into the education and just borrow a kind of principle from the academia. I don't know if Prince is back here now. Now, before you introduce a new knowledge or a new information to a learner, you must actually reference previous knowledge. There must be a space for previous knowledge. That is a knowledge that is relating to this particular new knowledge you want to throw to the learner. You must be able to reference it, and you will now build on that. It is on the previous knowledge you tend to introduce the new knowledge. Because if there is no previous knowledge, then you have to create a previous knowledge. Before you have to create a previous knowledge, which is always like the fundamental, the basic. So most time we need to take these farmers back to the basic, which most people don't really want to do. So most of the time when we give them new practices, when we are trying to help them with these new practices, now I'm talking about the practices now, when we want to help them with these new practices, we just dump it on them. So by the time we dump it on them, it looks so good. The outcome they see about it looks so good, but they can't understand it because there is no foundation to that knowledge we have given to them. And that will make them doubt the efficacy or the efficiency of the new knowledge we are trying to them. And once they have this doubt in them, there will be fear to actually leave the known and go for the unknown. That is in the part of knowledge. In the part of knowledge transfer. And I must tell you, because day in, day out at Agro Optimizer, our major aim, our major objective, as you will always see everywhere our names appear, is improving productivity and profitability. So day in, day out, both day and night, we work, we search, we do a whole lot just to get to know how can we better help these farmers, this major producer, to improve their productivity and their profit. We even look into how can we help them to help themselves, because most of the time the help is there for them, but they are not grabbing it. We still need to go and look, how can we make them accept this help that has come to them? And I must tell you, one of the ways we have actually found that is still tackling our wrong approach of agricultural advisory. The approach has been bad. There are certain approach of extension. In fact, I don't want to call myself an extensioner agent again, because we have even left the realm of extension, but yet we are still using the extension model. The extension model is archaic. It's not delivering again. It's not the part of it that is still delivering is not delivering what is desired or the level to which we desire this change. So there are new approaches, or let me just say, in fact, one particular one that has been in use for over 30 years now. Over 30 years now. And it's widespread in about 90 countries. In about 90 countries. And yet we are still using the archaic one. And then we are looking at other continents. We are looking at other nations. How they are finding it easy. Or let me not say easy. They may not be finding it easy, but how they are finding it relatively easier than to adopt this improved way, these better agricultural practices than Nigerians, or than those of us here. can't we also look, those of us that are trying to bring better practices to people, can't we also look into better ways of presenting these better practices to people? Remember, I said that people accept things that comes or things they can relate with, or things that has to do with them, things that they are familiar with, or things that comes from them better than things that comes from an outsider. Most of the time, the practices, we push it to them as a command. Why we not just be with them, grow with them, and help them reason a better way to do this, and make it look as if they are the one that actually creates this solution. And that is why at Agro Optimizer, all our experts, we don't refer to them as teachers or whatsoever, specialists or whatsoever. We call ourselves facilitators. So we help facilitate this better thinking, that we bring better ways. So I've actually deal in part with BAP. That is our approach as before. That is why the attitude of farmers in terms of adopting these practices have been poor. So we need to also look into better ways or better approach of introducing BAP to them. Now, in the other part, that is the market access, and also, let's say, the funding or the aids in form of fund. The way we also give it to them has also been disturbing to them. So most of the time, what we give to them are scary. That is on the part of the receiver, the producer, that is the farmer. And also, the ones that are confident enough to want to accept these aids are also creating tension or
Hello,
pressure.
Mr. Stephen.
I'm about
Hello,
wrapping
Mr.
up.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. I think today it will be good for us to look at BAP issue, the attitude. And thank you so much for doing that effectively, letting us know that better agronomic practices is the work of the extension and rural development agents, right? And then the method we're using to ensure this knowledge transfer, technology transfer, skills transfer from where researches are done and what have you, to ensure that these farmers adopt this. The mode of communication has been terrible, that we are giving them as a matter of command. And I guess I would want to add to it that we did not realize that these are individuals that are stakeholders. Seems to be as if farmers are not seen as stakeholders. They are seen like push aside or push over or something like that, which might not be really intended from the extension end, but then probably we didn't know this miscommunication issue, right? The issue is that there's a miscommunication, and we would like the university institutions, research places, individuals like as expected of the land, and most especially when there's climate change now, and then there must be climate smart approaches. So 1920, but then thank you so much for helping us know that while we are at it to bring to them what can cope, we must massage their ego. Their ego seems to be bruised. And so they respond with the fact that I rather die limited, I rather die small than to be considered small. So this issue is the issue of ego from all ends. And I believe that that is what has been affecting the BAP. It's not necessarily that I don't have money to practice better agronomic practices, to adopt better agronomic practices, but it's rather that egos are bruised. They are like emptied, and then a kind of like throw away what you used to have. You don't have anything, receive this one, everything, hook, line, and sinker. And these are adults. These are individuals who have staked their life and what have you. And this is their means of livelihood. And the entire family depend on this. So we should not expect that they will just take anybody's, whatever they are bringing on the table, anyhow like that. So that's what has been affecting the adoption of better agronomic practices. Thank God again that we have been able to pin it down. Thank you, Mr. Stephen. I feel that next week what we should do is to start and concentrate, is to quickly move and concentrate on financing. And then that means that we have to talk to someone that works with development finance firm, development finance institution, so that that person who is in touch with the farmers and who are doing a lot of things, so that those individuals will be able to come and talk to us about the attitude of farmers, and then what they also see as their own, be sincere, and then share what they think is their own attitude too as players in the development funding that is making farmers not to really take up their funding and financing. And as such, everything is still at limited level. So by the grace of God, next week, Wednesday, again, at 12 noon till 1 p.m., we'll be here again to look into understanding the attitude of farmers, but this time around, the embassy will be around financing. Thank you, Mr. Stephen, for taking up the better agronomic practices. Thank you, Press Farm. Thank you, Blissful Taste by Sama. Thank you, Boba Ventura, for being here. Mr. Stephen said, agro optimizers and the organizers of Farmers Hangout said, sent me to you, Fresh Farm, and to Blissful Taste. Boba Ventura has already responded to the call to be on ground to exhibit. Please, Blissful Taste by Saman, be on ground to exhibit your product on June 27 and June 28. Contact Agro Optimizers for detail. Well, you can contact us at Agribusiness Hub, so we can tell you the formality and detail. Press Farm, you are also you are also advised to have your stand. Okay, you will have your stand there. So when you contact us, we would refer you to, we would link you up with Agro Optimizers, the organizers of Farmers Hangout, and then they'll tell you detail of what you need to do to have a stand, because you will need to come and exhibit what you're doing, because there will be a lot of grant for connection. Individuals are coming. There are some people that are already asking me for those who will be needing funding. Press Farm, I believe you are an agribusiness startup that will be needing funding, and you will need to present your business. So therefore, let's get ready. Thank you for coming around today, and thank you for having me. We will have to call this a day today on. And to our viewers at the YouTube end, thank you for coming around. See you next week, Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. God willing.